A lot of times I periodically have temptations. Okay. I'm a human being, I'm a man. I have endorphins that can create mostly positive things that go to the cranial, all that stuff, the brain. Blah, 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 blah. So, look, I take this beat seriously. Um, have I thought about having an affair, sleeping with news people, anchors, and the like? Okay, first off, I'm a heterosexual. And yes, I have been in compromising situations with news people, sports people, entertainment people. And it's a big distinction, a big difference between thinking about sleeping with somebody just for the pure love of it, having nothing to do with research, which in and of itself would still make it bad in my book. Okay. I've become more attractive. I've become sort of that look, that kind of okay, okay. And I've been in positions when I'm free and easy. People think, oh, he's just sleeping with anybody. And that's just simply not the case. So, have I thought about it? Of course. Of course, I have, as would you. But that's the distinction that I want to make. Thinking about it and actually sleeping with somebody and acting like a pure sailor, a pure jerk, just to get some kind of craving, some satisfaction out of the way would be a disservice to you guys and to everybody out there. Because I don't work that way. I'm not a whore. I'm not some Johnny come lately, new to the scene, willing to do anything to get my way. Look, I'm as much of a freak as you are. I check out what I used to call them. I check out the ladies. I take a hard look. I've been in those situations. When I was drinking, I wasn't a slush, but I was, enjoying and partaking in an adult beverage or two. And when there were stories that I really wanted to get to the bottom of, so to speak, and if it meant having to compromise my very sacred position as your de facto ombudsman, and that would involve perhaps sleeping with someone, perhaps even sleeping with the enemy, that's where I draw the line. I have been tempted, I have thought about it, but I never ever succumbed to that craving. Maybe, and just a maybe or two early on in my life, before I was doing this, the thought crossed my mind. There she was. Could have been anything. Could have been a very innocent pair of jeans, say. Tight, but nevertheless tight jeans. Maybe a nice dress. And I'm talking about something that she bought off the second fiddle train at a Ross store, Burlington Coat Factory. My God, it was tempting. Made me think of some very, very dangerous thoughts. Talk about a dangerous liaison and all that. Yeah, I thought about it, but I never, ever succumbed. It's one of the many things I'm proud of. You can think about it. You can delve into the voodoo hidden territory called compromising positions. It's as much a part of the psyche of this gig as it is with others. It's a common question thrown my way. Have you ever? I could have. I couldn't, especially the newbies who come from out of town. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a little small town, it could be a big city like Chicago or Miami or Cleveland or Dubuque. People think, oh, it only happens in the movies and, that kind of a thing. No, 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 no. It happens more than you think. It happens more than you think. It would be the worst thing in the world to execute such a mission, albeit as freaky and as frosty as the affairs that have come into my psyche. But I have not, repeat, not done anything. Thinking about it and actually executing the endeavor is not akin to actually doing it. Be beyond compromise. It would be a sellout. It would be admitting you're a common whore simply for the sake of being a common whore. You must hold in your passion. You must take account of your responsibility. You must acknowledge the fact that sleep, sleep, sleep. Sexy, sexy, sexy. I'm too sexy for your eyes. Hold it in. Hold it in. Especially if the other party is married, especially if the other party is trying to perhaps succumb to their own situations and in the process take you along for the ride, and you acting as if you simply didn't care. That's not how I operate. No matter how dire the circumstances, no matter how big the story could potentially be. And while I'm very adamant, I want to get you the right story. I want to get you the meat and potatoes of said story, but not at any cost whatsoever. I am not a sleaze bucket, even though at times I have thought in that most unsacred of manners. Being in a vulnerable position, having been exposed to a life and death situation like my own situation these past 5 months, I seek to be a person who goes about it the right way, not the wrong way. And while, look, it's not the worst thing in the world, you're not breaking the law, you're having an affair, you're having some sort of a, presumably it would be consenting. I don't work that way. It comes up. It's an adult topic. It's not pretty. It's not a very pretty picture. And I do think about it. I'm a man. I'm more than middle-aged. It's come across my mental cranial album here. But that's where it ends. Thoughts and prayers sometimes. I'm a little angry that it had to get to a broadcast. Why? Because that's where I separate myself from the amateur hour people. And I confide in you because, in a way, I love you. I trust you. And I want you to trust me. Again, I want to repeat ad nauseum, so be it. Thinking about it, yes, of course. But actually doing it, doing the dirty deed, well, it's not in my book. Maybe if I take a hiatus, maybe, just maybe, if I was even desperate to get out of this and took a leave of absence that didn't have to do with the ultimate, then I think about it a little bit more intense. But as long as I am under this umbrella as your ombudsman, your quasi reporter of all things going on here in terms of the journalistic endeavor, I will never succumb to that lady in the tight jeans, to that woman bouncing around like a sweet daffodil with the wind in the back and a Helen Reddy song ready to be ready. I will do it my way, the right way, or the highway, not my highway, because my highway is the right way. Just thought I'd let you know. I'm Rich Lieber.